In 1955, more than 4,000 drive-in theaters dotted the American landscape. So commonplace, it seemed they might last forever. They offered families movies under the stars for pocket change. The idea began in a New Jersey driveway, and it reshaped how a nation watched films. Yet today, barely 300 remain, most clinging to life as relics of a vanished world. What happened to this once iconic institution, and why did drive-ins disappear so swiftly from American life? To answer that, we have to begin with the wild optimism that built them. Richard Hollingshead stood in his New Jersey driveway in 1933, searching for a way to combine America's growing love of cars with the magic of the movies. He set up a projector on the hood of his car, pinned a white sheet to the trees, and lined up rows of vehicles on the gravel. Over weeks of trial and error, he experimented with ramps for better sight lines, tested speaker placements, and even sprayed his windshield with water to simulate rain. The idea was simple: create a space where families could watch a film together, in comfort and privacy, without worrying about restless children or formal dress codes. By June 6, 1933, Hollingshead opened the world's first drive-in theater on Crescent Boulevard in Camden. He charged 25 cents per car and 25 cents per person, capping the total at $1. That price point made the experience accessible to working families. The screen was tilted at a precise angle, based on his driveway experiments, and each car was given its own RCA speaker box to hang on the window. Hollingshead secured U.S. Patent 1,909,537 for his drive-in theater model, protecting the concept for several years. This blend of affordability, informality, and technical ingenuity laid the foundation for a new kind of American entertainment, one that would soon spread far beyond that modest New Jersey lot. Within 2 decades of Hollingshead's first experiment, the drive-in theater had become a fixture of American life. By the mid-1950s, more than 4,000 screens stretched across the country, from the edge of Los Angeles suburbs to small towns in Ohio and Texas. This explosion was no accident. The post-war baby boom filled family cars with children, and the rise of affordable automobiles meant that nearly every household could reach a drive-in at the edge of town. New highways and suburban development opened up cheap, flat parcels of land, perfect for sprawling lots that could fit hundreds of vehicles at once. On summer weekends, families lined up bumper to bumper, drawn by the promise of a double feature for $1 per car. The drive-in's per-car pricing made it one of the most affordable outings for working parents, especially when compared to indoor theaters that charged by the seat. By 1958, the United States counted more drive-in screens than any other country in the world. At their peak, these open-air theaters were not just a novelty, but a defining part of the American landscape, woven into the routines of millions and serving as a new kind of town square for the car age. A warm summer evening at the drive-in brought together a cross-section of American life. Families packed into station wagons. Children in pajamas tumbled out to the playground beneath the screen, and teenagers clustered in their parents' old sedans, savoring a rare sense of privacy. The per-car admission, often a single dollar for everyone squeezed inside, meant that even large families could afford a night out. For many, this was the only entertainment that fit within a tight household budget. A faded flyer from 1957 promised dollar night, all you can fit in one car. Former patrons recall the ritual: coolers packed with sandwiches, folding chairs set up beside the car, and the soft crackle of the speaker box hanging from the window. The drive-in became a place where parents could relax and children could roam, where no one minded if a baby cried or a toddler ran in front of the screen. The snack bar, with its glowing neon sign, was as much a destination as the movie itself. One owner, remembering his busiest nights, described how the real business happened not at the ticket booth, but in the kitchen. Hot dogs, popcorn, and sodas often brought in more than the box office. These moments, repeated in thousands of towns, built a sense of belonging that lasted long after the credits rolled. Behind the glow of the giant screen and the hum of family cars, the business of running a drive-in was always more fragile than it appeared. The real profits did not come from the ticket booth. Most drive-ins made more from popcorn and sodas than from admissions, and concessions often brought in twice as much as ticket sales. Owners relied on these margins to cover expenses that came with running an outdoor cinema, wages for ticket takers and projectionists, electricity for powerful lamps, and constant upkeep of the parking lot and equipment. By the 1960s, labor and utility bills alone could swallow up nearly 1/3 of every dollar earned. To keep crowds coming, theaters advertised dollar night deals and double features. But these low prices meant that every lost sale at the snack bar hit hard. The movies themselves were rarely first-run hits. Studios reserved the biggest titles for indoor theaters, leaving drive-ins to fill their schedules with B-movies, westerns, or monster flicks picked up in bulk. Some owners tried to boost attendance with gimmicks, pony rides, playgrounds, even fireworks. But the core business always circled back to the snack bar. Flyers from the era promised hot dogs, cold drinks, popcorn. This delicate balance left drive-ins exposed. A rainy weekend, a drop in attendance, or a spike in payroll could tip the books into the red. As the decades wore on, the economics grew more precarious, setting the stage for problems that would come from outside the lot. Television swept through American households at a pace few industries could match. By 1960, nearly 87% of homes owned a television set, up from just 9% a decade earlier. This new fixture in the living room quietly changed family routines, offering free entertainment every night without leaving home. For drive-in owners, the glow of the small screen meant fewer cars in the lot and fewer families packing coolers for an evening out. Attendance surveys from the early 1960s show a steady erosion. What had once been a weekly ritual for many families became an occasional treat, as parents and children stayed home to watch their favorite shows. Another blow came from a change in the nation's clocks. The Uniform Time Act of 1966 extended daylight saving time by 4 weeks, pushing summer sunsets later into the evening. Drive-ins, reliant on darkness to start a show, found their prime hours squeezed. In northern states, the first reel could not roll until well after 9 p.m., shrinking the window for double features and cutting into concession sales. Industry groups lobbied for an exemption, but the law held, and operators reported losing up to a quarter of their seasonal screening hours. As the 1970s approached, a new kind of theater began to dominate the box office. Multiplexes, with multiple screens under one roof, sprang up in shopping centers and suburban malls. By 1985, these indoor venues accounted for 55% of all movie admissions in the United States. Multiplexes offered more choices, climate control, and the promise of first-run films, advantages that outdoor screens could not match. A film exhibition economist, reflecting on the data, notes that the demand for drive-ins was highly sensitive to even small changes in price or convenience. Once the alternatives became easier and more appealing, the decline accelerated. The drive-in model, built for a different era, was now under siege from every direction. The ground beneath drive-in theaters grew more valuable than the movies playing above it. By the late 1970s, suburban development had pushed land prices far beyond what a seasonal cinema could ever earn. Parcels that once sold for under $2,000 an acre in the 1950s were fetching $50,000 or more by the 1980s. Tax assessments climbed year after year, squeezing owners who already faced shrinking crowds and rising costs. A developer in Ohio described the calculus plainly. You could run a drive-in for 20 more summers, or sell the land and retire tomorrow. Corporate chains like Crest and General Drive-In Corporation began liquidating entire portfolios. In 1984, Crest sold a dozen sites in Michigan and Ohio for $18 million. Land that had been pasture was now retail gold. For many owners, the math left little room for sentiment. The movie was over, and the land had become the main attraction. Today, only about 300 drive-in theaters remain scattered across the United States. Most are family-run, holding on as much for community as for profit. At Benji's Drive-In in Maryland, the owner still greets regulars by name and updates the hand-painted marquee each week, a quiet act of defiance against the march of development. The pandemic brought an unexpected surge. Pop-up drive-ins appeared in church parking lots and empty fields, drawing families seeking a safe night out under the stars. For a brief moment, the old rituals returned. Cars lined up at dusk, radios tuned to the movie's frequency, children bundled in blankets on tailgates. Attendance at surviving sites doubled or even tripled in 2020, a reminder that the drive-in never truly vanished. It simply adapted, waiting for a world that needed it again. Even now, these screens glow on summer nights, kept alive by nostalgia, community effort, and the stubborn belief that some traditions are worth saving. Today, fewer than 300 drive-ins remain, a testament not to fading interest, but to progress outpacing tradition. As land values and streaming erase shared rituals, we are left to ask what is gained and what quietly disappears. Sometimes, cultural loss is not a failure. It is the cost of moving forward.